Hey guys, welcome to Sketch a Day. I'm Spencer, where every day I give you something new and hopefully interesting to learn and know about drawing. I've been doing this for about 10 years, so if this is your first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on alerts, and you can also come say hi to me on Instagram at sketchaday.com, where I post other things that you might not find here, as well as visit sketchaday.com/newsletter, where you'll be able to sign up for my newsletter and get this free super sketch tip guide. So today I'm going to be going through a sketch process of doing a hand mixer. And while that may seem simple at the onset, there's some complicated things and tricks I'm going to show you today. So grab whatever you have. I'm going to be using marker paper and my favorite Papermate Flair pens. You can always find the materials below in the description. So with that, let's get started. So much like I've done in the past, I'm going to start this by roughing out my sketch, but doing it in a way that is respectful of planes and the overall geometry. Now, when I look at a mixer from the front, in general, the profile, if you will, is something like that, and the side profile, and this is just overly simplified here, or simplified, not simplicated, overly simplified. But if I were to look at a wireframe, it would look something like this. So I can actually start by mapping out some planes here. So let's find the midpoint of this plane right there. Project to the front through that point. My guess was reasonably accurate. And now we can project up like so, over and down. And now we have this pyramid shape, okay, like so. Except in the back, I have a little difference in height right here. Okay, so with that, what I want to do is project down as if this were the same height, and now just kind of guesstimate the difference in height, like so, project across and down, and now I have my rough wireframe for my mixer, something like this. Okay, now of course the mixer is not going to be perfectly sharp like this unless it's a really avant-garde or modern mixer. In fact, we may have a little bit of an angle to the front, a curve like so, and on the sides we may curve in as well. So how do we treat these curves? Well, first of all, let's go ahead and angle the surface. So I just moved back in space on my line like so, and then connected back to these points A and B on that initial plane. Now I know there's a round here, so I'm just going to round this. If it were a perfect fillet or circular round, you'd want to construct a square and figure out what that is, but for my purposes here, we're just going to guesstimate. And then on the handle, if I want to curve this down, I can do that as well. So I can curve like so, and curve down a bit, and connect those two. Now it feels a little bit wide in terms of how much this is spreading, so I'm actually gonna pull my square in just a little bit on the sides, and this is why we rough things in, just like so. And now I'm gonna curve down with my lines like so, again just roughing it out, and toward the back here I want there to be a curve. So as I draw this in on this plane, I am curving these lines. So here is my wireframe or framework for the sketch, nice and curved. But what about the top, right? Maybe the top is curved like that. So we can do that here by just curving like so. And if this is rounded, we have a decision to make. We can decide, okay, is this a sharp edge that rounds on the bottom? Is it a fillet that's then carried through? These are things we can decide when we do our final sketch, but that's kind of how I think about things. Now for the handle itself, I kind of imagine that the handle cutout would follow that curve and maybe do something like this. Okay, so in the simplest form, we can draw on this plane a silhouette, something like that, and imagine the opposite side here, what that looks like. And so we may have a cutout like so. But what if this edge is not straight? What if it's rounded? Well, in that case, I like to add a secondary line like so. Still going to sweep up, And we can bring this other line down and just use it as a reference for a sketch, but that's how I figure out what that round is. And let's go ahead and round the bottom as well. On the front, let's say I want to have my control wheel in the side view, something like that. Well, I can actually just let's do an ellipse on the front like so, and curve it down like so, and then vertically construct another box here, and imagine that there is an ellipse or a circle in that box, and that's going to be our wheel. And this wheel is going to be used to control how much we are mixing, or it could be the mode for the mixer itself, but just roughing in this little portion with a wheel like so on the front of our mixer. Now, one thing that I find difficult to do when I'm sketching something like a mixer is the beaters, okay? And I do want to show those in the sketch. So one way to do that is just take the chisel end of your marker and go ahead and sketch those in, okay? And what this is going to do, and I'm just going to sketch them in basic geometric shape right here, meaning very rectilinear, no transitions. But in mapping it out with the gray marker, I'm actually able to guesstimate or estimate the thickness of these beaters. Instead of having to draw two parallel lines, for example, I have the marker here to kind of guide what's happening. Okay, and I can just come in, no stress, because I know where things are going to go, and I can use my marker here as a guide for these very sometimes difficult elements to draw on this mixer. Okay, so if I have something that has thickness, this is kind of how I like to address it. And I just realized that I should have one of the beaters at an angle to the other. So in the final sketch, I will fix that and make that work. So this is really just our rough underlay. And with a little bit of effort, some fresh paper, and fresh perspective, we can create our final sketch by using this rough. So I'm going to remove this page, and now jumping to my fresh page here, slide this guy underneath, just like that. And now, because I did all the thinking, I can actually just freely sketch this out. And this gives me a chance to just think about maybe some of those details and transitions that I hadn't quite thought about or addressed in the main sketch. I can do that now here as I work out my final design. Okay, so just carrying these rounds through like so, and on this side maybe just throwing in two lines like that, and here for the handle I've got my cutout like so. Probably should have not continued that line in, but that's okay. And we have our wheel that I can sketch in. And again, just using those rough lines that I put in as an underlay and a guide, we now have our little wheel control for the mixer, like so. Let's throw in a center line right there, and maybe just a couple slots for our motor to exhaust heat so we don't overheat the motor, for example. Maybe a logo on the side, some texture. We'll throw in just some light marker to help. And I'm going to go ahead and, since we have the underlay, just work on this a little bit. I do want these to feel like they're at an angle. So I'm just mapping out the position here of these other beaters at an angle so I can reference that in my main sketch. Okay, just like this. So starting by sketching in the posts right here, nice and quick. And again, I don't ever want to trace my drawings, but rather redraw as much as possible, which means I just want those lines to have fresh energy, purpose, direction, all that good stuff. So definitely trying to draw fresh lines, fresh energy, and not move too slowly as you do it. And that's going to help give some life to that sketch that you're putting together. So just as a general rule, I try to draw a little bit faster, as I find that it helps me with the energy in my sketch and keeps things a bit more exciting than if I were drawing slowly. That's not to say that drawing slowly is a bad thing, but if you want to create those high energy, engaging design sketches, speed is your friend. Okay, speed, confidence, preparation for sure. All your friends. Okay, so we're almost done here. Just had to work through some of these complex lines. And now we have our mixer. Pretty simple. Maybe we want some sort of rubber treatment on this handle area. This is an instance where I might sketch a little bit slower, for example, just because I want that element of precision. If you can do it quickly, more power to you, but for me, I find that it's a lot easier to go slower on a spot like that. Okay, and since this goes in the kitchen, I'm just going to use this blue, create a quick outline, do some abbreviated marker on this, and we will call it good. My marker is actually going a little dry here. So we'll see if we can use that to our advantage. Sometimes a dry marker is kind of fun in terms of blending. So once we remove this, you'll kind of see what I mean. Just a little color. And we can even help it with some pencil. Just a little pencil here, kind of help with that shadow core, maybe on the top of the mixer. These edges, like so. Building up the shadow core to reinforce the roundness. And particularly if this thing is white, you know, this is a good way to show form without having to break out more markers. Just focus on those shadow cores, shading, just with some light pencil. Okay. On top of the pen. So pretty quick and effective way to give some three-dimensionality to your design. If you're using a paper that has some decent tooth to it, but also using markers and pens. Okay? And let's make our wheel here blue as well, just as a nice tie-in to the rest of our mixer. Like so. And if you are presenting this as a concept, you'd want to have things like, you know, a decent background element just to kind of set things off for you on the page. And this could be colored, could be black and white. I'm just going to keep it as a box and add some shadow here just with my pen. If you notice, I want you to pay attention to how I'm holding my pen. Normally I do say draw with your shoulder, but if you practice holding your pen a little further up the barrel, you're actually able to do much of the same technique that you would have by drawing with your shoulder, because you're able to gain a bit more control by letting go, so to speak. And you're able to create these straighter lines. You'd want to have notes on your sketch as well. This is just dummy text. You know, I might be calling out material or some other important part, for example. Or you could have some auxiliary sketch. You know, maybe there is an attachment that has round mixers, for example, instead. and you could almost vignette that and maybe label it as part of the concept, right? To add some context to the overall presentation and page. But that's how I think through something that's maybe a bit more organic, complex, just by thinking through planes. There's some things I'd probably tweak here, but as an example of a quick abbreviated marker sketch to show a concept, I think it does a pretty good job of encapsulating the design intent. And certainly with some refinement, this could easily turn into a presentation sketch. Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far, definitely hit subscribe, turn on alerts, and come find me on Instagram. Say hi, I'm at sketchaday.com. And be sure to check out sketchaday.com/newsletter, where you'll be able to sign up for my free Super Sketch Tip Guide and also get a discount code to my store. A lot of you have asked, what are some good ways to support me? Well, one of the best ways is by just checking out the store. I've got Procreate brushes and a bunch of other stuff there that you might be interested. As well, if you are buying materials to do these videos, definitely use the links below because that helps us out here at the channel for sure. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Sketchaday.